All right, so as everybody's coming in, I don't have like a presentation today or anything. It's strictly just question and answer. So if you guys want to turn your videos on, otherwise I'm just staring at your names. If you don't want to, that's fine, but I'm just gonna give it a couple minutes to let everybody get on, and then we're gonna start with recruitment. So if you are a membership education chair, or you have MEMED questions, please keep those until 8:30. And I'm gonna do like a hard cut at 8:30. And if you guys want to go ahead and just start typing some questions in the chat, we'll start there. And then once we get caught up, I can take some speaker questions. All right. Looks like I have one. Okay, so Daisy asks, what is your biggest piece of advice for recruitment? I don't know that I necessarily only have one single piece of advice, but given what we're going through now and that a lot of schools are, either fully virtual or partially virtual, I guess kind of cliche, but my biggest piece of advice would really to just be patient with yourself, be patient with the people you're talking to, be patient with the people you're working with, and relax, because nobody has ever navigated this before. I've been on calls with other sororities, other sorority councils who are in the same position, so nobody's got a leg up. We're all starting from the same point here, trying to figure things out. So relax, like deep breath. Another thing I would say is keep your communication lines open. So make sure that, like, as recruitment chairs, you're going to, for the most part, assuming you're a virtual school, you're going to be virtually recruiting, which means most of your communication is going to be via email or phone. So make sure you're staying on top of that communication, and don't be afraid to ask for help if you need it. So if you are the lone recruitment chair, or if there's two of you and you feel like you're getting overwhelmed and you need some help, you need another volunteer to step up and help, don't be afraid to do that as well. I think that, well, specifically, I had Melanie step in as the recruitment director, and that was partially because I'm also juggling MEMED and ritual, but from a recruitment standpoint, it really allows me to handle the bigger picture things while she kind of handles the day-to-day, and that's really helped from a national standpoint, has helped me tackle recruitment. So those would probably be my two biggest pieces of advice. As for like marketing or social media, I really recommend posting frequently on your social media, and not being afraid to follow up with people. So if somebody reaches out and they're potentially interested in joining the sorority, follow up with them. And if they don't respond, keep going, keep trying to follow up with them, because especially if it's a freshman, imagine trying to join an organization that you know nothing about or nobody in, in a brand new school and there's a chance that you might not even see the campus your first year, just understand how stressful that can be in their position. So make sure that you're being open with your communication, open with your marketing, so that way people really get a feel for what your chapter is about. And also when you're posting on social media, make your posts really real and raw. Don't sugarcoat anything. Talk about who you truly are as an organization, highlight specific sisters and not just all of their accomplishments or the wonderful things that they've done. I mean, obviously we love to see that, but talk about their outside interests outside of FIRO and school. What are other things that they are interested in? Do you like video games? Are you, a movie critic? Like, do you play any sports? That kind of thing. It kind of really opens up the organization to people who might not necessarily be interested in it in the first place. I hope that answers your question, Daisy. If anyone else has a question, feel free to type it out in the chat, or you can unmute yourself and ask. What are some potential virtual recruitment events you suggest we can implement? So as far as actual recruitment events, I think that the format, how you're recruiting this year, is going to look a little bit different than it previously does. So normally you have people that are interested come and show up to your recruitment events after you advertise on campus and whatnot. I think what it really needs to look like this year is you actively reaching out and inviting people to your events. And then my suggestion would be, before you have an actual recruitment event, maybe you hold like a Zoom call kind of thing, as like a little like welcome to FIRO recruitment. Here's what we're all about, like give a little bit of information on our organization. So that way, when you're doing recruitment events, you're kind of getting that logistic point out of the way, like who we are as an organization and who we're looking for and how we're thriving and things that we, all the generic information about FIRO. So when you get into your virtual events, you can really just get right into those. I think there's a lot of different ways you could take recruitment events. I'm not super creative, but some of the things that I've heard of chapters doing, like this is in other sororities, setting up like little roundtable like parties on Zoom. So whether they're watching a movie together or I don't know, making mocktails, or just generally talking, or maybe you're trying a new recipe out and you have people hop on and try the recipe out with you, that kind of thing. I recommend doing it in smaller groups, so that way, or at least like a couple of events you do in small groups, so that people can really get to know each other on a more personal level, rather than here now we have 22 of us in this call, and if we were all trying to talk over each other, it'd be a little difficult. So maybe like 4 to 5 people. Really, you can do the events that you were doing in person. It's just a matter of switching them up a little bit so that you can make it work in a virtual setting. So I know, like, I'm trying to, recruitment for me was so long ago, but I know we did like cookie decorating. That's definitely something you could do. You also want to think about how everybody who's calling in will have to get their own materials. So that might be a little bit difficult. So try to stick to something that's like watching a movie or eating together. I don't know, like a little family dinner or something. Trivia. I don't know if you've ever played like the Jackbox games, but my fiance and I played a lot of Jackbox over quarantine. So those games are super fun and pretty reasonably priced. Rachel says, offer a craft kit pickup / delivery and then a recruitment craft night on Zoom. You could definitely do something like that. If people are like local to campus, you can purchase everything and have them, meet you somewhere on campus and grab it. Or you can offer, or you can, let them know where you got it and they can pick it up themselves, or they feel free to just call in while you make crafts and watch you do that. I don't know, those might be the lamest ideas ever, but that's what I've got. I found a bunch of free virtual escape rooms that are done through a Google form. That's pretty cool. That sounds really fun. Yeah, so those would be some ideas. We also have a recruitment chat, like a group me for all the recruitment chairs. So if you guys aren't in that and you want to be part of that, let me know and I will add you to the group. I'll put my phone number in this chat here. You can just text me. Just let me know your name and what chapter you're from, and then I'll add you to the group. And then we've kind of been talking about some ideas in there, and I know they're talking about doing some recruitment practice, one of the chapters. So if that's something you'd be interested in participating in. Anything else? Okay, that's a good point, Rebecca. Make sure your campus allows delivery of crafts or items. Some schools are, what is FSL office? Greek life office?
Sorry.
Oh, okay.
My mic was working. Yeah, I just know some campuses, it's usually due to like their Panhellenic recruitment rules or things like that. If you're an associate or affiliate member of your council, I know specifically at Purdue, like we couldn't give them a napkin, or if we gave them a Band-Aid, we had to like take it back before they left the house in person. So just make sure that that might be changing with the virtual environment, but just make sure that you're still abiding by those if you're associated with any of those groups.
Okay, thanks. So in that case, I guess if that rule applies to you, maybe tell them what kind of materials you'll be working with and where they can get them. So keep it generic so that people can go get that if they want to participate. Anything else? I did want to kind of briefly touch on recruitment liaisons. So I really want to tell you a little bit more in depth about what their role is going to be for your chapter. So I created recruitment liaisons as a way to help chapters who were going to be doing virtual recruitment, since that's something that is really, really new and very unknown to people. So when I first came up with the idea, I was going to try to figure out what chapters were fully virtual, and I was just going to have recruitment liaisons for those chapters. But then I ran into three things. One, I had a lot more volunteers than I thought I would. Two, I didn't really seem fair to only have liaisons for certain chapters. And then three, I realized a lot of you at that point had no idea whether or not you were going to be doing virtual recruitment. You hadn't heard from your office, your Greek life offices. You really didn't know what the plan was. So I decided every chapter is going to get a recruitment liaison. Some liaisons are working with 2 chapters, so just be mindful of that. But their goal is, whether you're doing in-person recruitment or virtual recruitment, their goal is to reach out to people within campus to get contact information for you for potential new members. So they're going to use some campus resources like other student organization contact information. They'll go through some faculty and staff, and they will get some lists basically of contact information for whether either incoming freshmen or other engineering students. Some liaisons have pointed out that they're not super comfortable reaching out because they're from a different campus. If that's the case, they'll have an entire email or an entire piece of advertising, whatever it is you choose to send, available, and they will have that all ready for you so that you can send that. It's kind of a little roundabout way to advertise when we don't have campus to advertise for us. So we're not going out and poaching people from other organizations. That's not the point of it. The point is just teaming up with organizations who have similar values to us. Like for me, when I was going through this, I went to a bunch of different university websites and found all the student organizations that are related to the College of Engineering. And I made a giant list of those organizations. And so you basically would ask those organizations, hey, next time you send a big, I don't know, email out or whatever to your interested members or your current members, could you, include this little picture from Phi Sigma Rho about how we are looking to give people a safe space and a sisterhood during COVID or during this virtual learning period. So it's going to kind of work like that. I know every chapter is going to be a little bit different. If you as a recruitment chair say, like, I really don't want my liaison to be involved that much, I'd rather have them help me out in a different way, that's fine. You just have to kind of let them know what assistance you're going to need, especially if you are able to be on campus and you can do a little bit more of that advertising. Maybe there's a different way they can help you out. But when they were given the definition of their role, that is what they were told they were going to be doing. So Melanie is kind of in charge of all of the liaisons. So if you have an issue contacting your liaison, or if you need some help or just have questions, feel free to reach out to Melanie, and she can answer anything for you. And they were instructed to contact you by Friday. So I believe you all got the contact information for your liaison today. So if they don't contact you by Friday, please reach out to them. And then you guys can get going and working together. Any other questions? See a couple of text messages coming in, so I'll add you guys to the group. Is anybody from Howard on the call? All right, well, I mean, if you guys, don't have any other questions, you don't have to sit here. You're welcome to sign off, but I appreciate it. I'll be here for the next 10 minutes. So if anything comes up, let me know. And then right at 8:30, I'm going to switch to my med. So we probably have some meds coming in now. I'm gonna keep the line open for recruitment chairs for the next 8 minutes, but right at 8:30 we'll start the Q&A for Mehmed. If you have any questions, go ahead and type them out in the chat, and then we'll start with those. And once we're through those, I'll take questions over the speaker. Ooh. If there's any Mehmeds on the call, feel free to type any questions you have or anything you want advice on in the chat, and I'll get started in about 4 minutes. All right, it's just about time, so I'm gonna get started. Okay, so I'm gonna start with the questions in the chat. So if you have anything you want answered, go ahead and type it in the chat, and then I will answer them. And then I also have a question on the Whova app, so I'll address that as well. So the first question I'm seeing is there a membership educator group chat? I have not set this up yet, but there's nothing stopping me from starting it now. So I will type my phone number into the Zoom chat. So if you want to be part of it, just let me know your name,
100%.
school that you're from, and what your position is in your chapter. Just shoot me a text message and I will start it'll be a group me because that's where my recruitment chat is. And I'll start a group me group with you guys so that you can all chit chat together. Okay, so do you have any tips on how to get the new members to bond with each other and with the rest of the chapter? So I'm really hoping that the way that I rewrite the membership education, each of the lessons will help them to kind of interact with each other, but then also will give the opportunity for other members of the chapter to call into these meetings and participate. I really recommend, okay, so to have them bond with the chapter specifically, I recommend inviting them to pretty much any kind of like sisterhood event that you do. Obviously, you can have events without your candidates, but make sure you're inviting them to as many sisterhood events as possible. Hang on, I feel like it's really dark in here. Give me a second. Okay, a little better. Sorry. So invite them to these virtual sisterhood events. We're not just facing this challenge with our new members, but we're also facing it with our active members as well, right? So you're not going to be able to be together physically. So you have to come up with ways to be able to interact together. I think the most important thing you can do is plan something consistent. So maybe you do something like once a week and have the candidates be able to be involved. I also don't recommend doing everything in a giant Zoom call like this. So we've got 20 people on this call right now. If I really wanted to get to know each and every one of you, this would not work. So we'd be talking over each other like crazy. I recommend doing like small group breakouts or have people sign up for things like, I was talking to the recruitment chairs about some recruitment events. There's like Jackbox games. One of the recruitment chairs said there's online virtual escape rooms. All these really cool ideas, like do a craft party or something. Have people sign up for these events and then just make sure your candidates are included. So you might have to work a little bit with your social chairs or like if you have a sisterhood chair, something like that. You might have to work with them to create some events that you would allow you to include your candidates. As far as getting them to bond with each other, I recommend one way another sorority is doing this is making their candidate meetings like an hour and 15 minutes or an hour and 10 minutes, however long your meeting is. Add like 10 or 15 minutes on and either tack it on right in the beginning or right at the end and just let them talk with each other. So maybe the first meeting you sign on and you say, okay guys, for the next 10 minutes, I'm gonna hop off the call. You guys feel free to chat and like give them a place to kind of talk to each other without you being there, because when you're there, they're kind of looking for you to facilitate. When you're not there, they are kind of step out of their shells and you know, talk to each other and get to know each other a little bit. So I recommend giving them that extra time, probably right in the beginning would be best, because by the end of the meeting, girls are just kind of want to sign off. But give them time to get to know each other. You may also want to create some like little get-togethers for just them. You don't necessarily have to attend, but to schedule or plan something or have them schedule or plan something so they can interact with each other. You can basically copy the same events that the actives are going to use, but just do a candidate only one so they're interacting with each other. Some of the icebreaker events that I am writing for the meetings are definitely more interactive and will allow for the new members to like work with each other. So it just kind of would open that up a little bit. It'll be really interesting to see how close they would be compared to other candidate classes. It's kind of a new thing. So I think just giving them as many opportunities as possible to interact with each other and interact with the chapter is really the best thing that you can do. The question on the Whova app was how to make the candidate meetings more interactive and get the candidates to participate. Again, like I said, the way I'm rewriting these lesson plans, they will be more interactive just because I'm adding more things that are interactive to them. But don't be afraid to ask them questions or, deviate from the lesson plan a little bit. If they're having a really good discussion about something and it doesn't necessarily follow the lesson plan, like you don't have to cut them off. I know we don't want the meeting to go too long, but give them that time to kind of speak their minds and, share their opinions and get to know each other a little bit that way as well. Mackenzie says, what advice do you have to help them bond if we're doing a hybrid of in-person and virtual this semester? So my guess is that for socially bonding, you're probably going to do more virtual events than in person. You could certainly, I don't know where school you go to if you have nice weather, because I was going to say you could do something outside. But
Hi,
hi.
this is Mackenzie. I'll explain a little bit. So I go to YSU, so we're in Ohio.
Okay.
So they're having us do, at least for the first month or so, like a hybrid of in-person and online classes.
Mhm.
So our girls asked, since we're such a small chapter, we have the ability to have in-person meetings and socially distance and everything, but we're also giving the virtual option to everyone if they're not comfortable. So there's like a chance that some girls might not be comfortable coming to things, but we'll also have people in person. So we're doing like a Zoom call into meeting, but also having people there.
Okay.
So I didn't know if there's like any advice on how to help them bond if we're like, we have like 10 people here, but then 5 people on like a virtual side.
Right. So I always think, I think this is like a new challenge that we're going to face now. Because pretty much everything as a sorority, we're allowing people to call in virtually, at least for this semester, just for comfort and safety reasons. I think someone said, which I was thinking of, have everybody bring their own dinners and meet in an outdoor area and eat together. That's certainly something that you could do. I see no issue with like FaceTiming someone and propping them up on a tree next to me or something if we're doing something outdoors. You're definitely going to have to get creative. I think that having the ability to see people face to face makes such a difference. If me and you are sitting across the table from each other right now, I think that the conversation would definitely be a little bit more meaningful than just on a Zoom call, So I think just trying to make it as personal as possible. When you're speaking with someone directly, like if you're going to do something virtual, like hybrid, where you have people calling in the Zoom call, like if I have a group of 5 people sitting here with me and I'm chatting with them, I might look over and say like, okay, look, I've got 20 people on this call right now. So Mackenzie, how are you doing? Like, what do you think about this? Or Vanessa, what's your thought on this? And I'm kind of calling you out one by one. So I'm making you feel like you are included, even though you're not physically here. I know it might kind of seem silly, but it's different if I'm talking to my friends here and I turn and I go, what about you guys on the Zoom call? There's 22 of you here. My best case scenario, one person unmutes their mic at a time and you all talk. Worst case scenario, nobody says anything at all, right? Which I feel like might happen. So especially if you have new members on the call, if I was a new member and I was calling into a social event, I would want to sit there with my mic muted, my camera off. I'd probably put like a little sticker over the camera to make sure that it's off and nobody can see me. And then I would just hang out and not talk to anybody. That's just personal opinion. But, just making that extra effort to make sure that everybody's included, I think definitely goes a long way. I hope I helped you.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Rachel says, complemented by a virtual dinner / social hour, maybe split up the actives. You can definitely do that. I know really we're going to be forced to split up into smaller groups. So make sure you're including everybody. And when you're splitting up groups, you're getting people to meet with different people every time, if that makes sense. So that, if you're breaking up into 5 people, you're not with the same 5 people. every time. So I think that's a really great idea. Just make sure that you're changing it up a little bit. You guys are welcome to turn your videos on too. I do love looking at Mackenzie's face, but if anyone else wants to say hi, or if you're all in your pajamas, that's cool too. Feel free to type any more questions or unmute yourself. Okay, Isabella, if we're going completely virtual this semester, do you have any ideas regarding what we should do about enforcing candidates dressing to their pin? Is this even a big concern? Last semester, I would have said no, because it was something that was so like, last minute, and not a lot of people really couldn't plan for it a lot. This semester, I would say it is appropriate to ask your candidates to dress to their pin on a Zoom call. They could be dressed like I am now. I literally have sweat short bottoms on, but I have like a nice top on, right? So I mean, obviously you can't have everybody stand up and do a 360 for you and then you yay or nay their outfit. That's not appropriate at all. But I think it is appropriate to ask them, like, explain, well, obviously you need to explain what dressing to their pin means. That's part of the program. So you would explain that and then say, like, you're expected to dress to your pin during meetings, whether you are in person or virtual. I do think that's appropriate. And if someone has a big problem with that or a concern, then we can handle that, or you can handle that on a case-by-case basis. But I do think that's appropriate to ask. Do we have an estimated time that the new MEMED material will start to be rolled out to us? My goal is to have lesson 1 out to you by the end of next week, and then I'm trying to roll them out every week after that. But I gave myself a hard cutoff of, what did I tell you guys on the call the other day? I wrote it down, hang on. September 30th, is that what I said? By September 30th, you will have everything, but I'm rolling it out. So it's not like I'm going to wait till September 30th to send you everything, because you obviously need it sooner than that. But by September 30th, you will have all the lessons. By the end of next week, you should have the first one. The material's not changing, so it's not like you really need to like learn anything new. I'm just trying to make it more virtually friendly, I guess. So really all you'll need to do is read through it once or twice and then go from there. And then if there's anything that's really out of the ordinary, I will give you written instructions on how to handle that. But I don't think there will be. Could we compile all the handouts into a Google Drive and share it with the girls rather than trying to physically distribute? Yes, you can do that. I will be sharing everything via Google Drive with you guys, so you are welcome to do that, although their member manuals is one thing that they're not going to be able to have virtually. It's still something I'm working on figuring out how we're going to handle that. So sit tight on that. Anything that can't be distributed virtually, I will figure out an alternate plan. Anything else? You guys had way more questions than recruitment. I was done after like 8 minutes and I was like, I don't know what to do. You're all just watching me. Should we have multiple virtual meetings planned if some girls aren't able to make it, or any advice on handling attendance issues? So whether you're doing a virtual or an in-person meeting, they're expected to be there. So I know that things are a little bit different in a virtual world, but like just like in school, if you have a mandatory virtual class and you need to be there, it's going to be the same way with candidate meetings. I honestly wouldn't hold it or handle it any differently than you would when it's in person. So I know some chapters do it differently. Like at Michigan, we would have, if a candidate missed a meeting, the candidate would meet with one of the MEMEDs and they would go over the material that they missed for that week, just like briefly. I mean, obviously they had to have an excused absence for that. And I think I would recommend that doing something similar to that. I don't think you need to hold multiple virtual meetings. If they're calling in, I mean, it makes it's definitely easier to call into a meeting, I think, than, run across campus from some other event you were at to make sure that you're on time to your meeting. So I wouldn't really handle it much differently than in person. I don't know how you normally handle it, if that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, but that's what I'd recommend. And obviously, if you have somebody who's consistently not attending meetings, then you have to consider whether or not this is going to be a good fit for them. I see all your text messages rolling in. I will get that group going. Any other questions, guys? I know stuff's going to come up during the semester. And this is a really new thing for all of us. So please be patient with me. I promise I am putting all my blood, sweat, and tears into this to make this as easy for you guys as possible. But also, if something is really not working or not making sense, let me know. The beauty of this is that you kind of have the ability to make it your own. And so if you want to make little changes to things, or if something doesn't really make sense the way that I wrote it and you want to make a little change to it, I'm completely fine with that. I know some chapters put really cute backgrounds on the PowerPoint slides, and I thought those were adorable. I have to keep our slides on our FIRO background because I'm distributing it, but I don't think there's anything that says you guys can't change it. If you want to add some fun transitions to them and stuff, or little cartoons or whatever, I'm totally okay with that. Add some pictures of your chapter. I think it's definitely prettier to look at than what we currently have, but in updating the slides, I'm really trying to take a lot of the wording off of there, so that way it allows you to talk a little bit more rather than feel like you're just reading off slides. It's also really busy and ugly to look at. So I'm kind of giving you guys the freedom to teach them the way that you want to, but it is laid out so that, if you just follow everything to a T, then you're golden. So are we allowed to do initiation and induction a hybrid or socially distanced? Yes. So now, since COVID-19 is still impacting our ability to be in person, kind of our emergency, I don't even remember what it was. Kellen approved virtual ritual as an emergency kind of situation. I don't know why I'm blanking on the word right now, but that's continued so long as COVID-19 is a factor. Once it's no longer a factor, then we're going to have to vote on ritual being, or being able to, or vote on virtual ritual, basically, as writing it in as this is our virtual ritual, period, 100% of the time. You can certainly do an in-person. You can do a hybrid thing where you have some people calling into initiation and induction. You might have to get a little bit creative with that. Maybe you have some people carrying the laptops around or something, I don't know. But that is going to be acceptable. You can do completely virtual. You can break it up into groups, smaller groups. So if your campus says, you can have 10 people in a room at once, then you're welcome to kind of break that up and do a few induction ceremonies, whatever you feel is appropriate. And obviously, if you have questions, you can reach out to me. Do you think it's appropriate to be more lax with attendance and make more exceptions since this is such a new situation? Or should they be held mostly to the same standard as previous candidates? My personal opinion is that they should be held to the same standard as previous candidates. Obviously, if they're going through something personal, we can discuss that on a case-by-case basis. Maybe they wait until next semester, the next opportunity to, to join the organization, but I think that enforcing attendance, whether we're virtual or in person, either way is appropriate. I would say that if you're going to be doing some virtual and some in-person meetings, so maybe like every other week you rotate or something like that, or you do half the candidates in person and the other half call in one meeting and then you switch or something like that. If that's how you're going to do it, and some people are like, if you have a candidate who's like, I only want to call in, I'm really not comfortable being in person, I just want to call in, then I think that's fine. But as far as actually attending meetings, if they don't have an excused absence for a meeting, they should be there. So I think they really should be held to the same standard. We're already cutting a lot of the requirements for the candidates for this semester, which you will also receive if you weren't on the call. What was that, Tuesday now? Yesterday? No, Monday? Whatever. The MEMED call. If you weren't on that call, I talked about the new requirements. So I'll make sure that you guys get those, but we're already cutting a lot of requirements out of this program, and making a lot of things optional. So the least they can do is attend the meetings and get the information they need about the organization. And I guess I would say too, as far as your active members attending things, they should also be held to the same standard as they typically are. Now, we know that we may not be able to have all of the actives at induction or at initiation unless it is fully virtual, but I would, if they're, however you figure out what you want your requirement to be, and we can discuss that. I didn't want to come up with, a set way or a set requirement for actives because every chapter is so different. But if you do have specific issues or specific ideas and you want to talk through them, I'm more than happy to do that. But I do think that we still need to hold our actives to that same standard as well. If they, if we tell them that they're required to be at this event, then unless they have an excused absence or a good reason, they should be there. This candidate class is no less special or more special than any other candidate class. So, our active members need to be treating these candidates just as they would any other candidate class. So yeah, I guess that would also apply for our active members as well. Anything else? My thoughts on how the big little process should work. Well, this was a challenge last semester because I told people that my idea was under the impression that we would be back to school now. So I said, maybe you do a little virtual reveal and then you do a big party when you get to campus, but now we're not on campus. So I don't want to tell you that again, although I think that's a safe way to go. So I was never recruitment chair. I never had the opportunity to plan a big little reveal. So I would definitely, on this question, defer to other people to maybe chime in if you have ideas on big little reveal. As far as assigning bigs and littles, I know a lot of chapters were doing like coffee dates or like group dates where sisters would meet with other sisters, including the potential bigs, and get to know them a little bit, and then they'd kind of submit their ranks. Is that how it works? Yeah, Mackenzie's giving me a head nod, so I'm trusting her. So I would recommend, I mean, you can certainly do these coffee dates or things like that virtually. Maybe you do like a big, as far as assigning like Q&A type of thing, like a Google form where you get to know people, and you can kind of send the Google form with all the information out and no names attached to it to everybody. And that can be part of the process. I don't know if that made any sense. But Rachel says, I've seen Big Little Reveal done with a big in a box where candidates have to solve clues to figure out which of several large boxes contains their big, and then they get to open a big present. That's really cute. So if you had something like that, you could even do like big in a box where the big sends them like little gifts, GIFTS, not GIFS, gifts, and you could ship them to them, or if they are local, you could drop them off at their house kind of thing. I think that'd be a really cute idea. For reveal, I think we're going to do it scheduled in person so there are less people in the room at a time, or using breakout. Oh shoot, I missed like the whole beginning of this comment. Okay, I plan on hosting Big Little Mixers as often as I can over Zoom, like 2 to 3 times a week, and encouraging them to meet 6 feet apart if they're comfortable. For reveal, I think we're going to do it scheduled in person so there are less people in the room at a time, or using breakout rooms on Zoom if they'd rather be virtual. That's a really good idea. I like that, Isabella. Okay, so you guys do mixers then. I don't remember. I was a candidate so long ago and I was never a big. So, okay, so Big Little Mixers then. Yeah, I think giving them as many opportunities as possible. And this is what, was I just talking about this with you guys, or yeah, with you guys? Giving them as many opportunities to meet your actives as possible is really going to be the best way to figure that out. You could also have your actives like reach out to your candidates. So schedule, like you can make this a requirement of your actives to call a candidate on the phone, or maybe FaceTime them, or you get a couple actives to FaceTime together, so that they can just kind of talk to the candidate and get to know them, that kind of thing. Are actives allowed to be alone in a Zoom call with the candidate? I don't know if there's a restriction against that. Maybe not. I'm not aware of anything that would say no, but if you do find that there is something restricting you from that, then you can always do like, are you saying like you would need a MEmed there? Or are you just saying you can't have a one-on-one kind of thing? Because if you can't have one-on-one, then just do like 2 actives and 2 candidates or something like that. It's still really personal, but I don't know if they're allowed to be alone in a Zoom call with a candidate. Okay, so as a teacher, you're not encouraged to be alone on Zoom with a student. Sometimes we record, sometimes we just make sure there are others on the call too. I don't know that this would necessarily apply. I mean, I guess maybe if your candidate is, maybe if your candidate's under 18, that might be a bit of a concern. But if that's the case, then have a few extra people, have a few people on the call, and nothing really has to be one-on-one. You could do 2 actives and 2 candidates, and I think that would be just fine. Or if you only have 1 candidate, do a few actives in the candidate. We always did coffee dates as well. And when I was a candidate, we had to one-on-one meet with everybody in the sorority. So we would go to like Starbucks or something and meet them there. Mackenzie, you said something up here. Last semester, we gave the bigs their little's number and had the bigs Skype their little at a certain day and time, so they didn't know who their big was until. That's cute. I like that too. I really, as a MEmed, would reach out to your active membership, whether you do a call like this where you have a good platform, like I have a good platform right now talking with you guys. Really just even if you have to beg your membership to put in the effort this semester, and I said this to recruitment, and I don't want to default to this, but you have to remind your actives that you are an active also with a job to do, and you need their help to make your candidates feel welcome into your organization. I don't think that, I mean, I can't imagine an active being like, I'm not participating in this, you know, I've got too much going on. But things come up, right? Especially now, the way the world is so crazy, there are so many things going on. And if an active is consistently not participating when they should be, you know, reach out to them personally, and don't do it from like an attacking stance. Come at it as, I know that you have a lot going on right now. I totally understand. But when you aren't showing up for our sorority, for our chapter, it's making these candidates, you know, it's negatively impacting these candidates, and literally make them feel guilty and say, these candidates, freshmen in college, sophomores in college, their whole college experience has been weird. So give them a platform, give them a place where they can feel good and feel supported by other women. I think that's super important, to be able to talk to your active members like that, coming from a place of not like I'm a med, so I'm above you because I'm an officer, but coming from a place of, here's me and here's where you guys are, and we have a job to do. I said in my presentation the other day, membership education is the responsibility of every active, and I completely stand behind that. You are running the show, but the show is not happening if you don't have your active membership behind you, and they should be putting in that effort to help you guys out. So, you know, and if you need me to call in and do some, like, I don't know, hype up your actives or something like that, I'll try my best. I might fail, but I'll make an attempt. Whatever you guys need me to do to make this easier for you, or make this easier for your candidates or for your actives, let me know, because I'm here for you guys. Is there anything else? It's 9:03, so any last minute questions, of course, you can send me an email if you want to. If something comes up, or if you want to talk about something one-on-one, or we can set up a call, whatever you'd like. Okay, well, if we don't have anything else, you guys do not have to hang around here. I put my phone number in the chat, so make sure you jot that down and shoot me a text message if you want to be part of the group. And that is it. That concludes it. Thanks for asking some awesome questions, guys.